So I am here with Donna Shodipo, partner at ACAS Law, and you've just come from a very inspiring, I hear, session speaking to a group of women. So tell us all about it.
Thank you for having me. So I was keynote speaker at the Global Women's Petroleum and Energy Club. This is their 9th meeting, and I was asked to speak about my journey as a woman in the oil and gas industry, and I decided to be personal about it, not to talk about statistics necessarily. I believe that everyone knows how there's gender inequality in the workplace, or discrimination, or the fact that we need more women in highly placed positions and more empowerment for the women. And so I decided to focus on those women who are in there, that small percentage we keep talking about. And I decided to look at what they have been doing and to say to them, well done. Because they're having to do more than is required of them, just because they're such a small percentage anyway. And just decided to tell it from that perspective.
We want to hear a little more. I mean, I know you can't tell us. You can't exactly repeat the entire session here, but we want a little snippet of what it is, that message that you passed on.
So I essentially told them a bit about myself, the fact that I used to be a tomboy, so I didn't like to wear skirts. And whenever a lot of people said to me that I should be a lawyer, and in Nigeria at the time, I'm from Nigeria, and in Nigeria at the time, lawyers were required to wear black and white. So for a woman, it meant black and white and skirt, so therefore penguin. And I thought, I love penguins, they're great birds, but I don't want to look like one all my life. So I fought against being a lawyer, but I ended up being one. I told them how when I found out I was going to be a lawyer, I was on the floor in the office when I got my admission letter publicly, and I was crying publicly because I didn't want it. Then I had a conversation with Adeptun. He's one of the founding partners of my firm, ACAS Law. And that conversation sort of turned my life around, because even in my interview, when they said, what would you say of yourself? I told them that I thought I was a flower budding into something beautiful at an interview in a suit. And one of the partners was like, what? So I fumbled a lot, just the fact that, I'm human, and sometimes not always prepared. But that conversation steered me in that direction. I told them I had 2 years to give to them. I've been there for 15. And I rose from being an intern to becoming a partner in 11 years, and I've been there for 4 years since then. And I said to them that every now and again, even though, because before I came up, my resume was read, and they read a lot of my awards, most outstanding professional, one of the 7 most outstanding professionals of 40 out of 40, so 7 out of 40. And under 40 in Nigeria. Best lawyer, best woman oil and gas lawyer, best energy this, best leading lawyer this. And I said, it sounds great. But every now and then I find myself, again, like the girl that I was before the filing cabinets at 2 a.m., sitting down at my desk at 3 a.m., reading documents over at 4 a.m., printing the same document 26 times because one line did not read right. And at those times I used to ask myself, can anybody see me? Does anybody know that I'm giving my blood to this work? As a woman also biologically, there are things that just go wrong, and in spite of all the different moving parts of our lives, whether we're married or single, whether we're mothers or barren, you're taking your job in spite of everything that you are. I talked about the fact that once in a meeting, a man said to me, you're here to be seen and not heard. I talked about the fact that I responded to him with just as much fierceness because I realized that we're all spirit first, and therefore we're equal. I talked about all of those things, and I said that just in case there are women like that who didn't know at the beginning of their careers what they were going to do, or who knew, who have stuck at it or who haven't, whatever it is, just in case they were like me, that sometimes, even with all the awards, I'm there saying, what on earth are you doing? I'm there to tell that woman, well done.
Fantastic. Do you feel that as women? I mean, you talked about how, you felt like you weren't seen, you felt like you weren't heard. Do you get a sense that this still pretty much happens in the oil and gas industry, in maybe I should say Nigeria?
I get a sense. I get 9 senses. Oh, wow. Like all the statistics are there to show women constantly. In fact, there was the World Economic Forum. They had a 7-point agenda, action items, a call to action of what companies needed to do to fix the gender inequality quotient in their companies. Luckily, 22 companies actually signed up for it. Some of the biggest names in the industry signed up for it. I was sitting down next to someone who told me that they had a team of 400 people in top management level. There are only 3 women, and these things are there. Other industries have caught up, apparently. Well, not.
You think they've caught up much faster than the
caught up is giving a lot of praise, but yes, they have. They've done much more. But there's also a historical thing to it. To be fair to the oil and gas industry, that historically, it was the men on the fields. Women were not really. Not a lot of
that has changed in a way now.
But a lot of that has changed, and so what we're saying is bring them up, bring those women up, and let them speak. And I'm a bit nonconformist, so while I'm happy to have that conversation of let them speak, I'm more likely to be on the other side telling the women, don't wait for anyone to tell you to speak, just speak, and get past, put yourself out there, ask for the promotion, negotiate your terms, like ask for a seat at the table when you're in the boardroom, don't sit at the back, things like that. I'm more of telling that side because I think that spending a lot of time on the other side, let them speak, is saying to the men, it's your fault, which maybe not the case. I don't know. I'm not there to have that conversation. But it's also, in a sense, telling the men, you have the power, but in reality, we're all powerful.
Yeah. I mean, I think, the reason why I probably asked you that question is because my mom worked in the oil industry for 30 years, and she was someone who got to the top of her game in the oil industry. And I kind of saw her. At work she was. At work generally you're different from when you're at home, but she kind of had to build this tough, persona because she was dealing with so many men. And people, I'd meet people who work at Chevron Texaco, or who worked at Chevron Texaco, and they would talk about, your mom is so tough, they would call her Margaret Thatcher of Chevron Texaco, and I'm thinking, but this isn't the person I know. She's a softie. You know what I mean? But then I almost feel like now, I have so many friends that are like engineers, and so many friends that are in the oil and gas industry, and there's so many women. When she started off, she was literally in a boardroom with just men. You know what I mean? And now there seems to be more opportunities. People have, women are taking on those jobs and they're stepping up a bit more. That's why I sort of was wondering if it is still that much of an issue.
Yeah, but the thing is, so what we should be doing is saying thank you to your mum and the likes of her, because they went ahead. They're the forerunners. They went ahead to push for those types of opportunities for younger women, whether they did so overtly or just by being there and holding that position. They opened the doors, and so we don't have as much of a war on our hands as your mom's generation, for example. And for me personally, I did mention how my firm, Acres Law, has been amazing. I've almost been protected from we have one bathroom for male and female. We don't, the segregation, we don't have, it's not there, it doesn't exist, everything is based on merit. So I've been lucky, but I can't say that I can't see. So thanks to people like your mom and all of that, we don't have as much of a battle, and the women who burnt their bras in the 1960s and all of those great wonderful stuff, which we can't do now. But
what do you think it takes for a woman to get to the top of her game in this industry? Hard work, strategy, choosing the right sponsors. I learned that a bit late. I have a lot of mentors. I didn't have a lot of sponsors. Now, in the last few years, I've understood that sometimes you have to be smart as well, but don't shy away from the hard work. And
don't play wicked politics. For me personally, I have a problem if you have to knock someone else down to get ahead, then I have a problem with that because you can get it without doing that. I think if you just work hard and work smart.
Yeah. And also, women supporting women, does that happen a lot in the industry? Because this is something that we all talk about in different industries. Are women really supporting women? Are women empowering other women?
I hope that people find their own tribe of women that can support them. I've had women support me. I've supported loads of women. Again, I can't say I can't see. So I know that there's many other, industries or companies where that is not the case. And that's why I talk more on the other side. Because sometimes I get tired of just hearing people talking and not doing. So the more I see people like the Careers Masterclass of London and, groups like that where they're actually opening the door and telling women, step in, the sooner we will get to a place of some kind of equality.
Yeah. Wow, I think we should leave it there. What an amazing interview. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. Thank you.